So, folks, another day, another day under ICE occupation here in Minneapolis and the wider Minnesota area. And again, I think it's really difficult to convey the casual violence and cruelty that is being visited on our streets. And when you go outside and into the cold, you know on some level if an ICE agent crosses your path or and chooses to mess up your day, it can ruin your life. It can they can just choose to kill you. They can choose to maim you. They can choose to visit any number of horrible outcomes upon you. And I just want to really emphasize, like, there's nothing you can really do to either to like convince them to not do the violence, right? And I think, like, here's a video. It's 20 seconds long and really hammers that home. All right, let's just take a look, shall we? Like, dude's literally just dancing. He did nothing to warrant that. Just dancing. But, you storm the Capitol complex. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Block traffic on your way to attack the Capitol complex and hang Mike Pence. It's fine. A perfectly peaceful protest. Dance outside of where ICE is headquartered. No, we're gonna take you in. And like this, it is every day now. Here's the Star Tribune sharing this video of 5 Border Patrol agents crushing a man's face in the middle of the street.
Oh, Jesus! Hey!
You can see right here is where that man's face is.
Stop kneeing him in the face! That's his face! Stop it!
Back up or you'll be arrested for impeding. Back up.
I am backing up. It's icy.
Be careful, be careful.
3, 2, 1, go. What's your name? What's your name for your family?
Ricardo what? Ricardo what? Get yourself for doing that!
Like, this is what people don't get, right? They will just, like, pull up, send, like, 5 or 6 dudes in full tactical gear, like, on top of you, beat you senseless. And the only way you don't disappear into their system is if you have the luck that someone around is recording and you are able to yell out your name intelligibly enough for the people recording to, like, know who they took. Because then the people who recorded it are able to reach out to your family. Because ICE isn't doing that. Like, when ICE takes these people, they're not, like, doing additional, like, oh, okay, time to call your lawyer, time to like, you get your call, you can call your family. Like, no. They aren't doing that shit. No one tells you anything once they disappear into that building. It's very important what the legal observers are doing right now, because it is the only mechanism of accountability to find victims of this. Yeah, and Amber Brains, you are completely correct. Part of the reason for the beatings during detainment is so that you are so, addled and shocked that you cannot get your name out. And, like, on top of this, like, the Trump administration is going nuts right now. In Minnesota, there's too much media attention on ICE, who have removed some of the worst murderers and criminals in the world, people led into our country by crooked Joe Biden's horrendous open border policy, and not enough attention paid to the staggering sum of money stolen from the state by corrupt Minnesota politicians. President Donald J. Trump. And, like, dude, you sent thousands of people here to flood our streets and brutalize our people and abduct citizens and immigrants alike and torture them. A woman who dropped her kid off at school got shot in the face a couple weeks ago. But no, too much attention is being put on that. Pay attention to something else, please. Because understand, the reason he says this is because he knows ICE is making him look bad. The Trump White House, on some level, is not more than a little upset about the fact that Minneapolis and Minnesota didn't just cave, roll over, and hand over immigrant neighbors.
Quick question: how long will we be under Joe Biden's presidency?
At least for the next, 3 years, apparently, Nathan. And I just have to say, I see comments. I see the comments. Renee Good did not hit that ICE officer with her car. She was told by an ICE officer to leave the scene. She waved ICE officers to drive past her, and instead they stopped. They told her to leave. She started to leave. An ICE officer deliberately stepped in front of her car to manufacture a situation where he could shoot her with plausible deniability. We see him unholster his gun prior to the car moving at all. We see him shoot her multiple times through the open side window, even after he's already out of the line of the car movement. But we also see that he was looking at her as she turned the wheel of the car. We also see from multiple angles, he was not bodily in front of the car. We see that, in fact, from one of the angles, he was putting out his arm to touch her car. He hit her car with his hand, and at no point were his feet or his body in danger of being bumped by that car. Dude didn't even drop his phone. And immediately after watching himself shoot a woman in the face at point blank range, he says, "Fucking bitch." That is not somebody who was afraid for his life. That is somebody who manufactured a situation that he knew and had the training to know he should not have been in so that he could kill her. This man was a firearms trainer. He knew that the policy of the Department of Homeland Security is that you do not stand in front of a moving vehicle and you do not shoot the driver of a moving vehicle. But he did both anyway, because he had previously worked for Border Patrol during the time period when Border Patrol was known to have a habit of stepping in front of vehicles to justify shooting occupants. It was murder. And I think any honest evaluation of that video indicates that it's murder. But you know what? I would normally say, let's let the courts sort it out, right? Normally I would say, let's let the courts figure that out, right? We have rule of law in this country exactly to adjudicate whether or not someone is guilty of a crime. Oh, Minnesota officials say they can't access evidence after fatal ICE shooting, and FBI won't jointly work on investigation. Well, we found that out. Okay, so the FBI will conduct an investigation, right? Here's Todd Blanche. What happened that day has been reviewed by millions of Americans because it was recorded. We investigate when it's appropriate to investigate. That is not the case here. We are not going to bow to pressure, so no, we are not investigating. Wait, but the FBI opened a probe into the ICE killing, but now they're going to investigate Renee Good's widow. Lenny, you can't fucking lie about that, Lenny. We've gone over the video too many times. Don't bullshit this community, folks. We've been over the video. If you think she turned after she hit him, you're just fucking wrong. We went through it millisecond by millisecond, frame by frame. Don't try and lie. Don't try and gaslight. So instead of investigating the guy who shot a woman in the face multiple times, including through her side window, they want to investigate the wife of the woman who was shot in the face. Only federal officers are upholding the law. Local and state police have been ordered to stand down and surrender. Yeah, the party of law and order here, folks, is so intent on covering up Renee Good's murder that they want the entire local police department to stop showing up to work. That's how much these folks are dedicated to law and order. They want so much law and order that the local police can't even handle it anymore. That's just where we are now. That's the state of affairs here in Trump's America. They care so much that they want to cover up a murder, investigate someone who is not related to that murder, and then just have all police stand down and all policing activities be done by terrorists in masks that have occupied the community. So that's where we are now. It's cool stuff. It's really disgusting, you know? It's really truly disgusting. There's not really any way to address this. Like, it's just complete and utter lawlessness. Just completely fucking insane. I kept looking at this last night. Like, I genuinely don't know what to do with this. I guess I want to take the opportunity to point out Stephen Miller has none of the immunities that Donald Trump has. And that thought does give me a great deal of comfort. Do nothing with it, it's nonsense. One would say that, except that Stephen Miller seems to have a stranglehold on like the president of the United States. Like, he seems to be making all of the main decisions here. And while this tweet by itself doesn't contain legal authority or power and is, of course, utter and complete bullshit, it does indicate where they want to go with this. Why should it be comforting when the Democrats in Congress will literally do nothing? Well, it's comforting because in the future, I hope that when he is out of power, our legal system can finally catch up to the blistering pace of their lawlessness. That's why I find it comforting that in the future, while Congress might still suck ass, perhaps someone will be brave enough to charge these people. Like, I also understand the impulse to just say, like, oh, well, Congress will never do anything. Like, the task in front of us is to make them do stuff. I understand that Congress is incredibly ineffective. I understand. Been talking about their failures for years. And so, I understand that it is a difficult task. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we have to do the hard thing. We got to do the hard, thankless, grinding task of organizing. And I cannot even begin to tell you how infuriating this shit is. That they're not even going to try to investigate. They're not even going to do a sham investigation. They're just saying, we're not going to investigate this murder at all. And I want to say, I don't think that's going to fly on the local level. I think on the local level, folks are compiling enough information from bystanders and such to put charges against this man. But it is going to be an uphill battle. And like, to really hammer home what's happening in Minneapolis right now, ICE agents showed up at this man's house, right? Can we zoom in a little bit more on this? They brought this man in nothing but his, like, shorts and one blanket and a pair of Crocs outside the other day. In Minnesota, in Minneapolis specifically, it was, I think, around -7 degrees. Maybe -7 degree plus wind chill. And they brought him outside barely clothed after raiding his house. This man is an American citizen. That man is also belongs to the Hmong community here in Minnesota. And here is the account of this man, or rather the family members of this man, from the Hmong American experience. ICE came to my brother-in-law Sally's apartment, broke down the door, trashed the place, handcuffed him, and pointed a gun to his daughter-in-law's head. They did not allow him to put on proper clothing and forced him outside in freezing weather. Sally is a naturalized U.S. citizen. He has no criminal record. ICE drove him around for nearly an hour, questioned him, fingerprinted him. Only after all of that did they realize he had no criminal history and no reason to be detained. They then dropped him back off at his apartment like nothing happened. We believe they were looking for someone who previously lived there, but instead of asking for identification, they chose violence, intimidation, and humiliation. What makes this even more painful is Sally's story. During the war in Laos, his mother, Nurse Chua Thao, helped a Lao woman deliver premature twins. The mother could not care for them. Chua took the boy, Sally, and one of her fellow nurses took the girl. Chua ensured all her children became naturalized U.S. citizens. She believed deeply in doing things the right way and protecting life, dignity, and family. To see her son treated like this in front of family with weapons drawn is beyond traumatic. This is not about politics. This is about basic human rights, due process, and accountability. No family should experience this, no child should witness this, and no U.S. citizen should be treated this way. Please share. Silence allows this to keep happening. Luensi Mua. And to, guys, what do you think? What do you think their excuse was for doing this, by the way? What do you think ICE's excuse for doing this to this U.S. citizen was? Because this was so egregious and prompted so much outrage that DHS responded. What do you think their excuse was? Can you link the story? Yeah, Marissa Cabas at the Handbasket has a really good write-up. We can do whatever we want. It's worse. Here's Trisha McLaughlin. Yesterday in St. Paul, ICE conducted a targeted operation of 2 convicted sex offenders. One of the criminal targets had convictions for sex with a minor and sexual assault. The other target had convictions for sex assault with penetration in the first degree, domestic violence, and violating a protective order. Both also have convictions for failure to register as sex offenders. They both have final orders of removal from an immigration judge. U.S. citizen lives with these 2 convicted sex offenders at the site of the operation. The individual refused to be fingerprinted or facially ID'd. He matched the description of the targets. As with any law enforcement agency, it is standard protocol to hold all individuals in a house of an operation for safety of the public and law enforcement. Both of these sexual predators remain at large in St. Paul. We will be providing the public with photos and descriptors to help us locate and apprehend these public safety threats. So, just as an FYI, their excuse was, this guy definitely lived with two sexual predators and looked exactly like them, and so we were justified in holding him, even though he was a citizen and not one of those criminals. It's literally worse than, oh, the description in question, not white. The description in question is literally just Asian. Asian man. Despite the fact that he doesn't look like either of these guys. Their excuse for this is he was guilty of the crime of looking Asian. It was fucking racism. When I say this, like, when I say that these guys are basically KKK members with badges and guns, I do mean it, guys. Like, they are genuinely just going after anyone who is non-white that they can get their hands on. And honestly, they'll also put their hands on you if you are white, if you look poor. Yeah, if the KKK was empowered by the state. Exactly. Now, I do also want to say that a few days ago, a federal court put down an order saying, hey, ICE, you can't attack people with non-lethal munitions if they are doing things like recording you. Legal observers have a right to record you and legally observe. So you can't do things like pepper spray them in the face. Just want to share this with you guys. You know, exactly what this guy's doing. They are just openly violating the law and openly violating a judge's order. Like it genuinely doesn't seem to matter to them. And at some point, something's got to give here. Like, does the law matter or doesn't it? And I wanted to read off the statement by the man who got pepper sprayed in the face. I'm the one in the brown hat. What you might not see is the victim in the car. His feet are pointing out the open car door. An agent is sitting on one of his legs. He's only wearing Crocs. Bystanders found his legal work visa in his abandoned car. Because it doesn't matter if you've got the right paperwork here, I guess. In Trump's America, it doesn't matter if you are here legally. If they think that you look like you don't belong, they're gonna torture you. It's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. Have you had any personal encounters with ICE? No, but I also have the ability to hunker down at home, and but my family has, and it's real fucking nasty out there. And I don't really want to go into more detail than that because I don't want to like dox myself or my loved ones for obvious reasons on stream. But the places you're seeing in Minneapolis where there is a lot of ICE activity is basically where I live. You know, like Renee Good was shot like a handful of blocks away from where I live. You know, that intersection where with Rectangle Pizza, that is near where I live and am often. You know, it is surreal to see this shit go down. Don't be getting up in police faces. Hey, are you familiar with the fact that police carry guns and it doesn't matter if you're in their face or not because they can hit you from not by their face? Man, it sucks being here right now. And if they take you, guess what? Lawyers allege Department of Homeland Security is denying legal counsel to Minnesota detainees. Thousands of people have been arrested during ICE operations in Minneapolis over the past 2 weeks. Multiple attorneys allege that for some of those detained, including at least one U.S. citizen, the Department of Homeland Security is denying their constitutional right to see an attorney. 4 attorneys told ABC News they've been denied access to their clients at the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis where they're being held, which they say would violate the 5th and 6th Amendment rights to due process and the right to consult with counsel. They ain't citizens. They ain't gonna get a lawyer. You still got a right to due process, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but if a tourist comes into America, they don't lose the right to like due process and the right to a lawyer. If a tourist comes to America, you can't just subject them to cruel and unusual punishment because they're not American citizens. Like, fuck. Heartless pieces of shit. Non-citizens ain't got no right to due process. Are you sure about that? So wait, if you don't get a right to a due process, does that mean you can just murder a tourist, Trev? They're not citizens after all. They have less rights than you, I guess. Can you just do attempted murder on a non-citizen? Is that how that works? Or I guess, like, do they just not get a lawyer if they want to defend themselves in court if you do a crime against them? Biden deported 4 million people with no due process. Actually, they did get due process. It was an awful, shitty system, but guess what? Trump made it worse. And guess what? Some of the people being denied due process are U.S. citizens, Trev. Maybe open up your ears a little bit and listen. Maybe you'll learn something. Bill the Dog, can I ask why you were asking about my encounters with ICE? Just out of curiosity. That due process, why bother with citizenship? Yeah, honestly, why bother verifying anyone who's done any crime is a U.S. citizen? If you never bothered to verify it, you could just not give anyone, a lawyer. Just hold them indefinitely if you don't have to verify they're a citizen. Black men get shot every day and y'all crying over the privileged white woman who hit a cop. Well, 1, she didn't hit that cop. We've watched the video. And 2, it's also bad when black men get shot.
I seem to remember that in the criminal justice system, the people are represented by 2 equal and separate groups.
Oh, it's true. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. And manufacturing more scenarios for me to drop that sound bit. It just seems like a really big problem here that now the government is denying legal representation to these people. That's also not accounting for the fact that they are murdering people in ICE custody. Here is a piece that came out a few days ago from the Washington
You have
Post.
friends everywhere.
Coming, Tanya, I appreciate it. Thank you for the $5 super chat. But this piece talks about how detainees at the Geraldo Lunas Campos holding facility, which is used to house ICE detainees in Texas, witnessed ICE guards kill a man in cold blood, choked him to death. It's really sick. It is just really, really sick. The medical examiner ruled it as a homicide, and it's made worse by the fact that now DHS, instead of investigating the murder, is just seeking to deport all the witnesses. Seeking to deport 2 men who said fellow ICE detainee was killed. Basically, the inmates at this detention facility saw their fellow inmate get murdered by ICE agents, and DHS is saying, no, they didn't murder him. Nope. And is now trying to get rid of anyone who says otherwise. The conservatives are saying it's fine because he was supposedly a convicted pedo. They're genuinely just saying anyone that is convenient to them is a pedophile. And even if it were true, our legal system is not built to just have prison guards execute the prisoners that they don't like. That's actually called murder. I don't know if anyone knows this, but that's actually considered pretty bad and frowned upon. And on top of that, folks, we got even more brutal treatment in ICE detention facilities. This is from an investigative piece from December, okay? This occurred in the South Louisiana ICE Processing Center in Basel. And basically, an ICE prison guard confessed and in court and is now convicted of essentially blackmailing an ICE detainee at the facility for sex. Basically telling her that she would never see her family again unless she had sex with him. Like, the only way she could communicate with her family was through letters carried by this man. It's really, really gross. And folks, we here in Minnesota, we're fucking done with it. We're fucking done with it. Like, this is gross, beyond the pale, disgusting bullshit. And we will fight it with everything we got. We will fight it with everything we got. And I just want to show some of the unconventional ways people are fighting back here. This was really interesting to see play out just the other day. Here is one of the ways people are fighting back.
A Sunday church service is now under investigation by the Justice Department.
An anti-ICE protest made its way into a St. Paul sanctuary during service. Protesters say a pastor at City's Church is also the acting director of the St. Paul Field Office of ICE. The Justice Department says it is investigating the incident, saying protesters violated the FACE Act. That law prohibits intimidating or interfering with people's rights to practice their faith. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has already responded, saying any violations of the law will be prosecuted, adding, quote, attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with full force of federal law.
Man, it's so cool that they're willing to investigate these people for peacefully interrupting a church service to protest. But they aren't willing to investigate whether or not one of their agents shot a mother in the face in cold blood doing a murder.
Peaceful protests took place outside the federal Whipple building just yesterday. Around midday, no federal officers were spotted outside. However, Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies were on hand. We've also learned the Veterans Affairs Office in the Whipple building is temporarily closing. In a posting on its website, it says it'll have staff available for veterans at the VA hospital in Minneapolis, along with online. They did not give a reason for that closure.
Fun fact, it's because the VA workers are being horribly mistreated by ICE. Just in case you guys don't know that. Because they have to put up with all the fucking bullshit of trying to go to work. in that same building, and they can't anymore because ICE. So, hey, is your veteran care suddenly a bit shittier here in Minneapolis and Minnesota? It's because of ICE. You're welcome.
And along with the protests that took place this weekend, the battle of words between state and federal officials, that continues.
Yesterday morning, both Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey appeared on CBS's Face the Nation. Noem blamed Minnesota leaders, including Frey, for recent violence. She suggested protesters to be confined to a peaceful protest.
You know, one of the wildest things watching news reports from Minneapolis right now, like, look at these guys. Like, the footage makes it look like they're in a war zone. All of that gas they made. Like, they made this entire situation that is on screen right now. They popped so much gas in a residential neighborhood that it looks like they're in the aftermath of like a goddamn airstrike.
Zone. Frey said he will not limit the First Amendment.
If he would set up a peaceful protest zone so that these individuals can exercise their First Amendment right.
Oh, a peaceful protest zone. Yeah, that's not fascist at all. No. Look, it's fine. You can protest. You can say whatever you want inside this cage.
And do so peacefully, we would love that. Because then we could work together to make sure we're getting criminals to justice and letting people still express their First Amendment rights.
First Amendment speech is not limited to one park or one section of the city. You are...
God damn it, I hate that they're making Jacob Frey look good. I hate it. Stop giving him these easy W's. God damn it.
Allowed to...
You guys are going to elevate him to a national figure, and you're going to regret it.
Protest so long as you're doing it peacefully. And by the way, we've got tens of thousands of people in Minneapolis that are grinning down the bear, that are peacefully expressing their First Amendment rights. So no, you can't have just one section of a city. That's not the way First Amendment works.
ICE says an undocumented immigrant picked up in Minneapolis died in their custody. 36-year-old Victor Manuel Diaz of Nicaragua was being held at Camp East Montana in El Paso, Texas. According to an ICE statement, he was unresponsive in his room and agents contacted medical staff. It says he died from a presumed suicide, though his death is still under investigation.
Another big headline from this weekend is the possibility of active duty soldiers being deployed here. A U.S. defense official tells CBS.
Yeah, like, this is all one news broadcast, guys. This is all, like, this is 2.5 minutes of a news broadcast local in Minnesota. Oh yeah, by the way, the military might deploy here. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha.
CBS News, 1,500 active duty soldiers are on standby in Alaska for possible deployment to Minneapolis. Those soldiers are from the 11th Airborne Division in Alaska. President Trump has said that he is considering invoking the Insurrection Act, which gives him the authority to deploy armed forces domestically.
I really want to stress here that there is genuinely no armed protest. There's no rioting in the streets. I haven't even really heard about that much property damage. Like, I think compared to like how some people in some cities have rioted in response to like their football teams winning, like it has been 1/100th of that. You know, the idea that we should send in like crack special forces paratroopers in order to like restore order on the streets, like, fuck off, man. We're just trying to go to work. We're just like trying to walk to work, and these masked goons roll up, brutalize our neighbors, and we're trying to do our best here.
So the National Guard is also on standby by orders of Governor Tim Walz to support, quote, the rights of all who assemble peacefully. On Saturday, Guard vehicles could be seen around the Twin Cities metro area prepared for potential unrest. Protesters demonstrated throughout the weekend as they have every day.
I can't wait for Frey's Post-Mayor podcast. First episode guest, Alex Jones.
Oh, God. Sake, don't put that evil on me. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, though.
Since the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, that was a week and a half ago, a small group of pro-ICE demonstrators tangled with those against immigration enforcement. And last night on 60 Minutes, the Minneapolis police chief shared his concerns about the killing of Good.
We're in this 2020 moment where all these tensions have been building. And I'm afraid we're going to have another moment where it all explodes.
I also, can I just say, I hate that the national news media is glazing this man. Stop it. Stop it. This man, like a handful of months ago, was blaming like all crime in Minneapolis on Somali immigrants. Stop it. Like the only reason he's looking good right now is because he hates that like ICE is coming in and doing his job for him. Look, maybe I'm being a bit uncharitable to this guy, but like he kind of sucks. And I don't know, if you think what ICE is doing is so bad, like start arresting them, please, for the love of God.
If the Minnesota National Guard troops are deployed, they say they will wear yellow reflective vests to distinguish themselves from federal agents. Normally, the Minnesota National Guard is under the command of the governor. But if President Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, that puts the soldiers under the control of President Trump. We'll have more on the federal crackdown happening in Minnesota in our second half hour, including the temporary closure of a couple of Twin Cities.
Yeah, federal occupation of Minnesota. It's untenable, guys. And like, I do really want to emphasize here that last bit, which is just insane, right? It's just insane. Members of the Minnesota National Guard are on standby, ready to assist local law enforcement and public safety agencies. Where members are activated, they will be wearing reflective vests, as pictured here, to help distinguish them from other agencies in similar uniforms. Basically, guys, the Minnesota National Guard had to subtweet ICE because ICE is going around LARPing as soldiers. So the actual military have to wear these yellow vests to distinguish themselves from the people who are fake military and abducting people while masked. So just to really hammer home where we're at here in Minnesota now, we have the Minnesota National Guard on standby with the need to distinguish itself from ICE. And then we have the U.S. military on standby as well, like the U.S. Air Force, airborne, rather, ready to go into Minnesota. And we have ICE running around doing just absolute whatever the fuck it wants in Minnesota. And like we've now set up a situation where the Minnesota National Guard might be activated by Tim Walz. Then the Insurrection Act activated by Donald Trump. And really, guys, I don't know how to say this, but we have a situation where plausibly the National Guard could be facing down the U.S. airborne. And this is we're getting into some really scary territory here. We're getting into some really scary territory. Yeah, 1,500 troops on standby, 600 police, 2,000, a total of 3,000 ICE agents. And then the National Guard, however much of that gets deployed. And then the state troopers, which I believe is another 600. So oh boy. Don't like this. I don't like this at all. I don't like it one bit. And I'm hoping that it doesn't come together in the way that I'm terrified it will. But genuinely, I can't see a situation in which all of these people are sent to Minnesota and it goes well. You know, that's the thing I'm struggling with. I'm struggling to envision how all of this is supposed to go well with that many players on the field. Minnesota starts the Civil War off. I mean, we did last time. We'll do it again, I guess. But Dragonfly, we're on a goddamn slip and slide to the bottom. It's nuts. I believe you guys can keep the peace. My fear here, though, is that it is no longer in the hands of people who are demonstrating to keep the peace. You know, when we have if the National Guard is activated, if the Insurrection Act is turned on, genuinely, ICE is just like fabricating violence wherever it would like. Yeah, I'm really worried about how this can all work out in any way that is good. We'll do our best, obviously, but it's very scary. And just the icing on the cake is that all these conservative dipshits in Congress are talking about how we're all paid to be angry about men with guns and masks abducting our neighbors. Yeah, man, I have to get a paycheck to get angry about, people on my block being scared.
Irony here, because just over the holidays, Governor Walz was warning that ICE was going to raid houses of worship and churches at midnight when exactly the opposite has happened. He has, along with the mayor, incentivized these agitators to carry out things like you're watching on our screen now.
This is what I mean. These agitators who, by the way, they are paid, folks. America, they are paid to do this kind of mess.
We are not. We're just fucking angry.
These are the people who will say they have a First Amendment right to speak, but
we do.
They just trampled on the First Amendment right of that church to be able to worship. That's what they're doing right now. And this is completely unacceptable.
Sometimes in order to exercise that First Amendment right to speak, one needs to be a conscientious objector. Or not a conscientious objector. What is it? Oh, God, I'm having a brain fart. The term for when you know a law is unjust and you break it anyway. Oh, what is that term? Chat, help me out. A loud-ass bitch? Yes, nailed it. Oh, God. Civil disobedience. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck. Pro streamer.
Acceptable. But let's be very clear. President Trump and his administration, they're not going to bend the knee to the mob, because that's what the mayor of Minneapolis wants. That's what Tim Walz and Gavin Newsom, these other crazy governors, that's what they want. The Democrats have no solutions about protecting the United States, protecting their people, or having orderly legal immigration into the United States. They want chaos. They want anarchy. They want this, what you're seeing right now on your screens. It's awful. Not going to be tolerated in Florida, Texas, or anywhere else that common sense reigns in the United States.
And no sign of irony here.
Like, they're all paid. Who paying us? Where can I get my check? This is the incident that all these folks are describing here. And oddly enough, Don Lemon on the scene, of all people.
Give you mercy,
So the man who is presiding over this church at the moment is also the ICE field director in St. Paul. That's the background. Can we... I'm confused. Is the faith leader part of ICE? Yes. So they're like, the protesters are showing up at this church specifically because the guy who is the pastor here is the one who is locking up their friends and neighbors and is directing their operations in St. Paul.
So the protesters are confronting church members and leaders. They have stopped the service. A lot of people, a number of people have left. There are some who are still sitting here.
Are you okay with the injustice that's happening within your city?
We pay for justice every day.
Are you okay? So you're not okay with
I'm just here. I'm just here photographing.
Are you okay with the
I'm not part of the group. I'm just here photographing. I'm a journalist. Excuse me, sir. Can I get right here? Thank you. I'm sorry. So you can see the protesters here have gathered over here. They're in the middle of the church. So in the beginning of the church service, the pastor was speaking, and Nikema stood up and said her piece, and then the protesters surrounded her. But this is a clandestine mission. I think they found out according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE. And so
I think at some point here, he interviews the pastor.
Sometimes it's heated, sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And I think maybe...
Okay.
People to go to heaven.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. We want folks to go to heaven. And if we need to talk about these things, then, I mean, this isn't the time for that, really. I mean...
But don't you think until we go to heaven...
This isn't really the time to talk about rounding people up and putting them in cages, you know? This is the time to talk about God. What God wants us to do. The question of putting people in cages, that's not a time to talk about what God wants.
If you believe in that because he doesn't want to listen to facts.
While overseeing evil. Absolutely not. Mr. Wood's name there. If you Google him, you will also see him at a press conference that was held by C-SPAN, standing next to Kristi Noem. And also the lawsuit that was filed by the ACLU in December on behalf of 6 Minnesota residents that just went in front of Judge Melendez, and where she put an injunction against ICE for them being able to retaliate against peaceful protesters. His name is in those court documents, again, as the director of the field office for ICE in St. Paul. Yes. That is unacceptable. How can you be a pastor of a church, but overseeing ICE agents in the field? We know that ICE agents just killed Renee Good. We know that they shot a Venezuelan nationalist. We know that they almost killed a 6-month-old baby in North Minneapolis, as well as terrorized their whole family of 6.
Yeah, by the way, all 6 of those children, the oldest was 11. All 6 had to go to the hospital.
Had to send 3 of their children to the hospital, 2 of which had asthma, as they fired tear gas and flashbang grenades at the cars of innocent people. We know that they dragged people out of their cars, out of their homes. They dragged pregnant women. They beaten and attacked immigrants and U.S. citizens. So how dare somebody claim to be a pastor while overseeing evil? Absolutely not.
False prophet.
Absolutely not.
False prophet.
Now you guys heard that pastor pray. Dear Lord, please chasten us to get our house in order. That was the perfect prayer for such a time as this. Because that's what we came to do. Get your house in order.
Oh, here it is.
Hi. Let's see if we can talk to the pastor.
Don, why your connection's so bad?
Thank you, while they're here.
Don, you're killing me.
Pastor of the church.
Our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters. Yeah. We asked them to leave, and they...
I do want to say, I do find his wide-eyed panic at what is happening here to be somewhat satisfying. Because this is a man who never thought this shit would come back to his doorstep. He didn't think that keeping people trapped up like goddamn animals and black-bagging folks off the street would show up in his house, in front of his God, and make him look bad.
Obviously have not left. So.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we're here.
Okay.
That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So that's one of the pastors of the church.
Man, maybe you shouldn't hire a guy who's a part-time ICE field director, huh? Don Lemon unironically doing some good journalism. I don't know how he managed it. Maybe he tripped into it that day, but yeah. Anyway, here's how other folks responded to this. Here's Alina Habba.
The mayor comes out and says they're just speaking up peacefully. They're standing up for their neighbors. And it's not just about resisting Trump. This is about loving and caring for the people that call the city home. Do you feel better about it now?
Okay. Yeah.
Man, I love two people who would rather die than set foot in my state, talking about it as if they give one single shit about anybody from Minneapolis. Does that make you feel better about Minneapolis? Fuck off. Neither of you feel anything about Minneapolis.
So we have a mayor who's a Somali sympathizer who we've seen dancing around on stage with their flag instead of an American flag. And I'm supposed to sit here, exactly, and I'm supposed to sit here and believe that that is not creating more hostility where we have I just spoke with Brian, 200 agents the other night that are leaving their families, going there to keep the peace.
Man, imagine leaving your family so that you can just like go and like sit in a shitty hotel and be hated every fucking where you go because everyone fucking knows that you are black bagging whoever the fuck you want. You're targeting children at the local Target. You're beating up like babies. You're like fucking disappearing people who are legal citizens. You're shooting mothers in the face. Oh man, think of these poor hardworking family guys who might get carte blanche to just shoot an innocent woman in the face. Won't someone think about those guys, those poor working men?
To get criminals off the streets, to get people that...
By the way, just again, to really underscore the racism here, like, she opened this up by calling the mayor of our city a Somali sympathizer. Just break that down. Like, how it doesn't land any different to me than someone being like, oh, you're a black sympathizer. It lands the exact same way as like a white person calling another white person a race traitor. Like, that's what's happening here. That's what they're accusing him of. They're accusing him of being a race traitor. Yeah, I mean, hella, like, 100%. It is the politically correct way in their unwoke world of calling him essentially, like, you know, an N-word lover. Like, it's, like, that is what they are trying to do on Fox News. What's next? A queer sympathizer? Yeah. Like, it's like the racism of these people is just absolutely mask off now. Friendly reminder that 90% of the Somali community in the US are citizens. Yeah, and it's even higher in the Twin Cities area. It's just naked racism.
That don't belong here out so that we are a safer country. And they don't even know what they're standing for. And let me also tell you something. The Department of Justice will look into whomever is funding this. It's no different than a RICO action. If you are funding...
Man, I love that they keep showing the same footage of, like... I'm sorry, like, 5 white nationalists made a huge deal online about having a hate rally in Minneapolis. And then Minneapolis showed up And all these like online scared little boys pissed their pants and ran away the second it turned out, oh, hey, wait a minute. People in Minneapolis aren't going to greet a bunch of fucking members of the KKK like they're goddamn heroes, actually. Which, by the way, is the miscalculation of the entire, like, Trump regime, right? Like, they picked Minnesota. They picked Maine. They picked these two places in order to try and make examples of them because they thought the white folks here in these states would hand over their non-white neighbors. That we would, in a way, greet ICE as liberators. People coming here to set us free from having to live near non-white people. And it turns out, much to their chagrin, that even though, like Minneapolis and Minnesota do have problems when it comes to like racism. But ultimately, the folks who are anti-racist outnumber the racists. And we are going to stand up and fight for our non-white friends, family, and neighbors. We're going to go to the mat for them. That's what they don't get. Every single one of these people in the Trump administration, they're just like, why can't they just tell ICE agents where the Asians on their block live? Why are all these white women showing up at these protests and like trying to record ICE? They should just shut up and go home. You know, otherwise Renee Good would still be alive. Like, that's what they think. And they cannot comprehend a view of the world where folks view it as their obligation to stand up to and fight racists. How bad are the raids in Maine? Someone in chat earlier reported that ICE was going and knocking on doors, pretending to be gathering information for Medicaid. So, you know, they're heating up.
Mass protests. If you are having protests that are not righteous protests, there are First Amendment rights that we respect.
Yeah, I'm sorry. These are righteous protests. If ever there was a righteous protest, it is one against a federal government that believes they have the right to send masked men to disappear members of your community. Protesting that is like basically,
what a year, huh?
Basically the most righteous kind of protest. Stone Corbell, thank you very much for subscribing over on Twitch. And yeah, what a year. Lemon, it's Tuesday. God, these evil bitches.
The Justice Department is vowing to bring charges against protesters who interrupted a Sunday service in St. Paul.
Yeah, but by the way, the federal government is going to try and charge all of these people for interrupting a church service.
Thanks for joining us. Protesters say that a pastor at City's Church is also the acting director of enforcement for ICE in St. Paul. Senior investigative reporter Jennifer Mayerly is here with what she's learned about what happened and what's next, Jen.
Well, Aaron, here's what we do know. St. Paul police responded. By that time, we're told protesters were out of the church. They tell us it's part of an active disorderly conduct investigation. The feds say they've launched a civil rights investigation.
This is video inside City's Church in St. Paul when anti-ICE protesters interrupted service Sunday morning. Black Lives Matter Twin Cities founder Chantel Allen was there.
We went to the church and we knew that we were going to disrupt service. We knew that we were going to disrupt and ask some questions. We didn't know that it was going to turn into a full-on protest.
She says members of Black Lives Matter Minnesota and Racial Justice Network were...
Oh my God, sorry, I did not know the name of the group that put this together, but now that I know it, it makes a whole lot more sense to me that the Justice Department is going to try and come down with the full fucking force of the law against these people, because the only thing that this administration knows how to do is to, like, vindictively go after people they perceive as their enemies, right? And BLM is basically like this group being a Black Lives Matter group, they are going to go after them hard because they know at the end of the day, conservatives will love to see charges against BLM members. It's like they know that will play incredibly well with their base.
Also there to tell the congregation one of their pastors works with ICE. The last sermon WCCO found of him on YouTube was April of last year.
Envy is a sneaky sin.
Our cameras captured David Easterwood at this press conference alongside DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in October.
My name is David Easterwood. I'm the acting field office director for enforcement and removal operations, ERO St. Paul.
Jesus Christ, I've never seen a man this thumb-shaped. Oh my God. I didn't believe it was possible. Oh my, oh my God. Guys, I've never seen this except in one place. Oh my God. Holy shit. Oh God. All right. I get a lot of mileage out of this. Can someone make this an emote? Just this. You guys can spam it anytime we encounter one of these guys. Oh God. Wow.
In general, probably the basic rule is you shouldn't be interfering with other people's church services.
Political science and First Amendment expert Professor David Schultz says charges could depend on intent.
If you do trespass against a church, try to break up a church service, and you do so with a certain type of, let's say, intent or certain types of goals, it could rise to either a criminal or a civil matter in terms of a violation of civil rights law.
Allen stands by their actions.
Interrupting a church service to inform the community of individuals that are terrorizing our community, that are standing in their pulpit, that's what we should be doing as citizens.
We asked if Allen is worried about civil or criminal charges.
I'm concerned that our citizens on a whole are in danger right now, and I'm willing to put anything on the line for our democracy.
All right. We also asked what could happen from a civil rights investigation. Schultz says people could face a fine. Criminal charges could carry jail time. Aaron?
Okay, Jen, thank you so much. Well, the number of ICE arrests across Minnesota are growing. Just today, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem posted on X saying DHS had arrested 3,000 criminal illegal aliens, including murderers, rapists, and incredibly dangerous individuals.
Just a couple of different things here. Number one, worth noting that we have no idea and cannot verify whether what she is claiming here is even true, right? Because, again, most of these people are being denied due process and access to counsel. And number two, worth noting that Stephen Miller's goal for ICE is to arrest around 3,000 people per day. And the fact that it took them 6 weeks to get 3,000 arrests. Oh, I bet that makes Stephen Miller mad. I bet that makes him so mad that he wanted that in one day. Oh God. The saving grace of this administration is its incompetence. That is the saving grace. Like, they're having to try and pull teeth in order to get ICE agents who are willing to come and volunteer to go to Minnesota. If they could, they would have sent more people here. They actually had to pull other ICE agents from other operations around the country to send them here. Send them all here. You know? We'll fight this fight. These morons can't handle it when someone drives casually behind them and pulls out a camera. They are not equipped for Will Stansel. They don't know what to do.
Stephen Miller should spend the rest of his days in a Dunk the Clown game in his orange jumpsuit. where every minority can freely dunk the clown.
You know what? I don't think that rises to the level of cruel and unusual. I think it just rises to the level of unusual, and I think that'd be okay. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. And I will also say, folks are getting creative in a number of different ways on how to push back, all right? So one of the ways folks locally are pushing back is that the Milak Band of Ojibwe owns a number of hotels in the area. Specifically, they own the St. Paul Downtown Doubletree, and they own the Intercontinental in St. Paul, both of which were being used by ICE. And guess what? A lot of indigenous groups in the area put some pressure on their fellow indigenous group. And wouldn't you know it, both hotels suddenly announced that they're closing down. I'm told multiple ICE agents with rooms booked at the St. Paul Downtown Doubletree by Hilton received this notice today that their rooms are being canceled and the hotel will temporarily close due to heightened public safety concerns in St. Paul. You know, ICE being the public safety concerns. But also, I called the hotel and checked online, and they are indeed not taking any bookings right now. They referred me to other hotels. I'm told this also happened today at the Intercontinental St. Paul, with ICE agents with bookings there notified the hotel will be temporarily closing today due to the ongoing unrest in Minnesota. An agent who talked to the front desk manager there says he was told it was done to protect staff because they've been getting threats from unknown individuals for lodging DHS agents. And here you go. Here's the eviction notice itself. Please know that your safety and well-being will always be our top priority. Due to heightened public safety concerns in St. Paul, we've made the difficult decision to temporarily close our hotel, and your reservation will be canceled effective Sunday, January 18th, 2026 by 12 p.m. We're taking the step out of care for you, our team members, and the surrounding community. Due to your unexpected departure, our team can assist you with alternate accommodations if needed. To support you during this difficult transition, and as a gesture of goodwill, we can either refund your last night's stay or pay your first night's stay at your new hotel at the same rate as your canceled reservation with us. Thank you for your understanding during this challenging time. With warmest regards, Doubletree St. Paul team. And I gotta say, that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny, you know? like kill him with kindness, am I right? Like, just like really the ethos of Minnesota coming through here, the passive aggression. But I really want to emphasize, I don't think people really get how bad it's getting out here. Folks are now arming up, right? Specifically, some folks are starting to do like neighborhood patrols while armed. Here's a guy who is standing guard for ICE on a street corner, with his rifle. Like, folks are keeping an eye out, you know, because ICE is just driving around looking to grab people. Also, I just gotta say, someone pointed this out. Good trigger discipline here too, you know. But, you know, I'm sure MAGA will be fine with law-abiding Americans using their Second Amendment rights. I'm sure MAGA will be fine with that and not absolutely incensed over the idea that leftists could do something that they do all the time. They'll be okay with it. They'll understand. They'll understand that the Second Amendment is used to police against government tyranny, and like this is, you know, one of those times to maybe utilize your legal rights. All with painted nails. You know that's going to make them mad, though. You can wield a gun, but painted nails? Step too far. Super Jet Guy, my understanding is that this is not like an organized effort. This is like some people in a neighborhood trying to keep like their neighbors safe. Like, I want to stress, a lot of this is just organic. Like, seeing people get snatched and deciding they got to do something about it while, you know, still operating within the law. But like, things are continuing to escalate, and it is disturbing as hell out there. Now, I want to emphasize that there are a few events coming up that people should be aware of. For example, on Friday this week is going to be a work stoppage across all of Minnesota. Basically, all of the local labor unions have joined together. The labor unions on the University of Minnesota, at the University of Minnesota, have started calling the university to close down on Friday. And essentially, like, the unions are stepping up. Like, finally, the community is organizing in order to economically impact other, like, business leaders in the community, etc. Yeah, this is like the first step towards an actual, honest-to-God, prolonged general strike. And the call is for no work, no consumption, i.e. don't buy anything, and no studying. So don't go to school, don't study, don't do that shit on Friday. And it's, again, a shot across the bow to, like, indicate, hey, we're organized and we're ready to commit to doing this. We are willing to go longer. On Friday, that is the work stoppage. On the 23rd, you can see it on the poster behind me, right there. ICE out, statewide shutdown, January 23rd. Additionally, ICE out of Minnesota Day of Truth and Freedom is going to be the march in downtown Minneapolis at 2 p.m. To demonstrate against ICE. So Friday is going to be a really big day, both for protesting and for folks leaving the job, minding the line, as it were. Get ready, folks. Things have might really pop off on the 23rd.
I thought consumption was tuberculosis.
Yes. TB or not TB? That is the question. Sake, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. But yeah, people are getting organized. It's really ramping up, and folks are showing solidarity right and left out there. And I really am. I'm feeling good about where we're at. You know, I'm feeling real good about where we're at. ICE is escalating for sure, but people in Minnesota are innovating and finding all kinds of new ways every day to resist what ICE is doing and to keep their neighbors safe. And I think that that's a really good sign. So things are getting really scary, but I think right now, Minnesotans are stepping up in a way that is keeping us safe. And I hope that it will continue that way for the foreseeable future. Gonna bust out the frog suit? We'll see. Again, part of what's difficult for my situation, folks, is that I have a lot of other aspects of my life that I don't tell you guys about. Because I can't. One day I will be able to, but I can't right now. And that aspect of my life makes it really difficult to do stuff out in the world. Needless to say, I will be doing everything in my power to keep me and mine safe. The frog suits are very hard to move and see in. It's true. No one's talking about counterattack, Speed Razor. I know that I want Saki Tanuki on my side when the pun wars start. Wire Sponge, it's okay. It just makes this time even scarier than it would be otherwise. With that, folks, I know that this has been a lot. But I think we've gotten through the entirety of this, and I'm pretty happy with how this went. So if you got anything out of this, folks, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the follow button, and consider dropping those subs, donos, memberships, super chats, etc., because you guys make this show possible. Comments, by the way, longer than 8 words, really help in the algorithm. And also, remember to get organized, because it's not enough just to show up to one protest. It's not enough just to, vote. We got to continue to get organized. We got to move forward in community with others. And like, if you are getting organized with your like your local Working Families Party or a local protest group or Indivisible or something like that, that is great. But also consider getting organized with your local Dems and your local DSA. Okay? We need to start building local grassroots community support, but we also need to start growing that local grassroots electoral support. Folks that'll turn out during the election year, and we need to like leverage that power so we can beat these corporate fucks that are ruining our lives across the nation, whether Republican or Democrat. And also, if you need help doing that, join our Discord. Reach out to GamerG for help joining your local DSA. Reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems. And I mean, look, Dragonfly's already in chat. Like, did someone say local Dems? Indeed. Reach out. They're genuinely there to help you, and incredible resources. And make use of them, please. And last but not least, please check out ImageneOlivia.com, gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks, non-tucking lingerie. Check it out. Link down in the description. And let's keep on going, folks. And for my fellow Minnesotans, let's keep on fighting.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat.